me, which some of you do, some of you don't, some of you watching do, you'll know that my notes are simply here because I have very poor memory and to keep me from becoming a stream of consciousness talking to you. And I hate standing behind the podium, so I have a little bit of both. Good afternoon. The journey here was long, but most in terms of the weather yesterday, because I left Buffalo at about 4 o'clock and never really left Buffalo until I believe it was 11:30, 11:45. So really it takes by car to get here about 6.5 hours in good traffic. It took me 11.5 hours to get here last night, so I almost should have drove. Part of my presentation will be to explain where it is I come from. But before I do that, I want to tell you a couple things. First of all, 3 things came to mind when Jeff gave me the time slot that I had. First of all, I'm a staff developer, so I work with mostly teachers, but really educators and just about anybody who will listen to the work that we have. And I was so excited to see that I was 2 o'clock, because most of the time I'm what's keeping you from lunch. So I'm not keeping you from lunch, so I'm really excited about that. Next was that it's a time slot that's a little after lunch, but you haven't quite moved into that food coma yet, so I'm a little excited about that too. And third is my timing. And well, 10 minutes seems, like an eternity when I'm sitting on that side watching people speak. 10 minutes might be a little bit difficult. So I know from my experience in working with people and talking with people that the average attention span is about 7 minutes. So I'm going to try to keep and have my notes to try to keep me from becoming a stream of consciousness and staying within that 7 minutes. So Jeff told you I'm from Cuba, and hopefully I have this going the right way. So here is New York. And actually, I come from a little county named Allegheny County. And so if you were watching, here's where we are down here, and there is Allegheny County, where I am from. In Allegheny County, as you can see, the population of Allegheny County is, at the time of the last census, was about 48,946. Much like your areas that you are coming from, your population are dwindling, ours are dwindling as well, and we didn't have that many people to begin with. The primary thing in our area, the primary employer in Allegheny County, for the most part, and also Cattaraugus County, is schools. And I live in Cuba, population 1,500. Cuba, New York. Now, when I tell people when I travel, because I do get to travel when I talk to teachers, when I tell people I'm from New York, first of all, they say, "Oh, you're from New York, that's so exciting." Little do they know I'm 6 hours away. People in Pennsylvania live closer to Manhattan than I do. And then on top of that, I say I'm from Cuba. There's actually a Facebook page that people have created saying, "From Cuba, I'm from Cuba, no, not the island," because I've heard them all. Population in Cuba is about 1,500. The school district that I live in, work in, and have for the past, well, I've lived there most of my life and have worked there most of my life, and all but 6 years have lived in Allegheny County. The population in the Cuba area is a merged district, so our school district is Cuba and Rushford. But the organization I work for doesn't just serve Cuba, it serves 22 component districts. This is a picture that I took the other day outside my front porch. This sort of epitomizes what it's like in Cuba, in a rural area. We have a large number, a percentage of Amish people living in our area. One of the things besides cows and dairy that we're known for is a higher population in both Allegheny and Cattaraugus County of Amish, and mostly because they find that it's an area that's conducive to a simple life. I work for an organization named Cattaraugus Allegheny BOCES, and Cattaraugus Allegheny BOCES serves those 2 counties, and Cattaraugus County is pretty comparable to Allegheny County. Cattaraugus Allegheny BOCES serves 22 school districts, as I said before. And for those of you who aren't familiar what BOCES systems are, of course I have to read my notes because I've forgotten. The BOCES system was created, The BOCES system was created in the 1940s by the legislature to sort of equalize services throughout the area. Cattaraugus Allegheny BOCES, as you can see, our current tagline is Essential Partners. Prior to that, we were sharing resources, and we take that very seriously in sharing resources. One of the things that our BOCES has done is never allowed the fact that we are rural keep us from being connected to the World Wide Web, being connected to the world. Our BOCES that I work for has helped keep our districts connected for quite some time. We were ed tech before ed tech was cool. The misnomer, I think, with folks who live where I live is that we don't have a lot of broad opportunities. And you know what? You're right. We don't have a lot of opportunities to see things in our local area, but we have incredible opportunities that we've banked on with distance learning, creation of Moodle, Moodle courses, created courses using our distance learning so that students can be provided with classes that may not be given at their class, but may go into another district. So we've had that opportunity to share. Okay, that's why Twitter makes sense to me. Twitter is an opportunity, if you don't have a BOCES system like we do to share things, Twitter is an opportunity for all of us to have their own little BOCES, to share. The other reason I'm here today is a little over a year ago, and I don't know how long it was out, but Dean Sharesky, one of the people I follow on Twitter, posted a video about sharing and how important it was for us to share, and how important it is for us to share what we know with who we work with. And so that's why I see Twitter as being that equalizer to share opportunities with the people around us from all over the world. It's what keeps us from being isolated and sharing ideas with fellow coworkers. Now, remember I said Cuba. Cuba's pretty small. We have that disease of the one, or we call everything the. It's the store, it's the highway. That's because there really is only one store. There is only one highway. And in our school systems, many of our school systems, we have districts that range in size from 200 students, pre-K-12, to 2,200 students. And that's misleading. Those 2,200 students are from 12 different villages and towns. So we serve all of those different districts. And of course, I don't want to become a stream of consciousness, so I'm going to move over here. So how did we do it? What are we doing? Aside from distance learning, and aside from hooking students up and using social media to get students involved, I'm also making every effort to help teach our teachers and our leaders. When I first was introduced to Twitter by a friend of mine who I follow, Mark Carls, and another friend, Rick Weinberg, and another, Tim Clark, they're professional developers who we quite literally put into school districts to teach ed tech with teachers and students. It's very important that they do it with the students, not just the teachers. When I first learned about Twitter, I had turned into the teachers that I usually talk with. Oh, that's not useless. Who wants to know about what I'm wearing today? I didn't see the purpose. I truly didn't. And I had become the yeah buts. And I had become the thing that I had most fought against in my professional development career. And then one day I was preparing for work with a high school teacher. Now, I was not a high school teacher. I was a middle school teacher. And I was working with a high school math teacher. And I was at a loss for what I was going to share, both ed tech and just professional development in terms of teaching and instruction. What do I have in common with a math teacher? This was a struggling math teacher who needed some ideas, and here I was being charged with teaching this person new ideas and integration. So I went and decided to listen to my fellow coworkers, and I tried Twitter yet again. And I tweeted a question, and because I didn't have a whole lot of followers at the time, I learned the value of building up that PLN. I tweeted information about math, Common Core math, and math ideas, technology integration in math, and a few things streamed here and there. But then I discovered the power of the hashtag. And from there, I developed and found hundreds of tweets based on math chats, just using that hashtag. And it gave me the power and gave me some of the resources to use with the teacher whom which I didn't have a whole lot of information to work with. Now, here's where the light clicked for me in Twitter, because it became a professional development opportunity. But I didn't even need to be there anymore to give him that opportunity. Now, I've been walking around pushing the idea of using social media, using network to help teachers and staff get professional development. Currently, I work in one specific district, and I spent the better part of this year working with the leadership in that district, because as you heard this morning, if the leadership isn't backing it and the leadership doesn't understand it, then it's very difficult to move things. It's very difficult to go beyond the fear that we have of what other things social media could do, because, oh my goodness, they're not doing something educational if they're tweeting. So I've been pushing through wonderful tools like EdChats. I've been sharing the ideas from some of the great people you've heard here today, little by little, with anybody who will listen. A superintendent that I work with said, Katie, you've got to feed the hungry, and the rest will follow. Either that or they'll be sitting in the back of the faculty room still reading their newspaper. So that's what I'm doing. I'm feeding the hungry. But I'm feeding the leadership the most, because they're the ones who have to learn and support this type of learning with their staff and then with their students. So I've spent this whole year sharing these resources, sharing my network that I've created with other leaderships and leaders in our area. So where am I going next? After listening to Christian Long today, I was struck again by why am I doing this and what do I need to do differently? And I think where my direction is now is to really help my students develop those professional learning networks, teach them the value and the power of Twitter in a safe format, and how they can use this tool to increase their world. And it's scary, but it also can be safe. And I want to start, and will start, working with our students to collaborate internally first, but then externally bringing the world to them through the value of Twitter. That's where I'm going. We've kind of always operated under the premise that we've never let being rural stop us from opportunities out in the world. And so for those of you who are here today, I will say just keep on putting out those ideas, sharing those ideas. You never know, one day one person might find that idea, take it and run with it. And how many opportunities you're giving your students to be out in the World Wide Web and never even leave their little town like Cuba, New York. I have 4 seconds, and I never thought it would take me this long, but I thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing from you.